We're back with the fourth episode of AI Right. And we've got Ishbel, Andy and Megan as always joining us. How are you guys?
Hello, very good, thank you.
Long time no speak, all good.
It's been a while, but we've been catching up on everybody. Glad to be back at work.
Absolutely.
And
Slightly the work. Definitely back at work.
Like holidays never happened.
Absolutely.
Oh, you forget about it so quickly. And you get into that really good routine of like, even though I've got young kids and they're up early and stuff, it's like just very chill. Sort of, I've no pressure, I've nothing to really do today.
I'm trying to think back to what my routine was. My routine was just flying by the fridge every 20 minutes.
That's the hardest thing about working for the house. I'm glad I'm in the office most of the time. I could never go without an hour, get in and open my fridge and see what was in there.
I need to try New Year diet. I've already been a run. And,
good job.
Which for me is unprecedented.
Wow.
I know.
I'm just
wow. My wife was like, "Are you okay?"
I'm just off the back of all-inclusive life, and it's like free breakfasts, free lunches, and free dinners. And,
all-inclusive, but it's so bad for the waist.
Oh, not good. Everything's a bit tighter. No new clothes until spring. Anyway, we're back today to discuss organisations' adoption of AI, particularly maybe those who are early-stage companies or maybe older-fashioned companies that don't have a lot of advancements of technology and stuff, where they're looking at AI and how they might be able to, as I say, adopt it into their organisation, adapt it. So I thought there was some interesting conversations or aspects to that. But yeah, good to get your thoughts on, I think where you guys can come at this from is giving people an understanding of what they need. They might think, wow, I've not got a clue about my data, or I've not got a clue about software development. How am I going to use how am I going to use AI within my business? But it might be much more simple than that, or they might have a pretty straightforward problem that they want to answer, and sometimes AI might be able to help them.
Yeah, definitely
do that.
I'm looking forward to this conversation, but I feel like we need to preface it by saying that we're all from very big, well-established companies. So take everything we say with a wee pinch of salt and recognise that we're maybe coming from a position of quite established AI use and
we have experience across many orgs, and we have extensive networks, so we'll do our best.
Yeah, we'll try our best.
Yeah. I'll try our best.
What's interesting from my perspective, just to give you that perspective, so obviously we help organisations find data practitioners, as data scientists or engineers, but a lot of companies, probably small stage companies, have been coming to us to say, look, here's what our product is or what our service is, but we've got this need that we think AI can help with. For instance, we're talking to a recycling company recently that are interested in robotics capability, which will be a completely first for them. And we're trying to introduce them to the right people who can potentially build that for them. But yeah, I think there's much more people out there, especially that are involved in businesses, that think that AI is going to make an impact to that.
Yeah, it's good to hear an example. I think for me, like the first thing any organisation should be considering is, are they wanting to like build with AI? Or are they just wanting to take advantage of the general like tools and services that are able to like help your general workflows? Like any company, however kind of early stage it is, will have picked a certain level of like workflow process or tooling or some kind of established way in which they expect to deliver their services or their products. I think one of the first things you could probably do as an easy win is look at what's currently already part of your workflow and see if there are any AI assisted like tools available within that, and give them a pilot, like see if they work for you, see if they add value. And probably the most responsible thing you can do is just to measure that really effectively, check whether or not it is actually doing what the sales pitch told you it was gonna. Is it good value for money for you? And don't just dive into like hiring a data professional and building something from scratch immediately. Like that might not be quite the first thing to try out. I don't know what everyone else thinks.
I guess I was thinking about it from where are you at just now? Like if it is a company, do they have any data? What systems do they have? Have they got a data platform already? Have they got any data, data engineering, data science? Obviously, like there's a whole level of things. So understanding like, are you going to ingest data from your platform, like from your systems, and then where you're going to house that? And I suppose that kind of initial step, like understanding your business from a data perspective would be key. So like obviously any AI, I'm thinking AI data wise, obviously not processes can be controlled by AI as well. But like from a data perspective, any AI needs accurate data. So understanding their data initially would be, you know, the key step, like one of the first key steps. But yeah, I think like there's a lot that could be done without like a hugely complicated like technical tech stack. You know, even just initially there'd be a lot that could be done from the tools that are available within Power BI or other kind of sources like that to start kind of like understanding their business in a lot easier way than previously would have been available.
Yeah, I think as well. Yeah, exactly. And I think we need to remember as well that most users of AI globally, and this is the first time this has happened, most of the users of AI globally are sort of one-to-one consumers directly interacting with an AI service. So ChatGPT is hundreds of millions of people using it every month. Gemini is the same. That's never really happened before. You know, there's people just using it day to day, plan, to organize, to analyze, to summarize, whatever it is. And I think the lowest hanging fruit for a business, especially if, to your point, Ishbel, you're one that's not that mature and if you're still doing things in Excel or sort of might even be paper based for some stuff still, just because that's worked for you. The easiest thing you can do is like get an AI subscription for you or some members of your team and just play with it and think about how it could be used to help you. And it might be that it doesn't, or it might be that it helps in some specific things and you can start playing around. And in that case, you've even abstracted away entirely from your data specifically. It's just you're using it to help you work through some problems, or you're giving it some example pieces of data and asking, how would I do this thing? Or, it's kind of, I suppose it's very hard
do it as well? It's like, say you've got a company that's been around for years and years and years, but they're trying to get into the modern world. You could be like, how could I do this? How could I do for everything?
I think
literally everything.
I think that's a good one. Yeah, like I know people who, they run charities. They don't have a lot of funding. They're not going to go into AWS and build super scalable web applications and stuff. But at the same time, they have needs that they're trying to meet. And they're maybe just starting to get people on to use Excel and do a bit of data analysis themselves. And to your point, Ishbel, AI might accelerate that process for them in a kind of way. They just need to be careful what they're doing with the data. That's our message to everyone.
Yeah, for any
you're not happy
information
sharing
that you're
your
feeding
data,
into it, exactly. Yeah.
That's the big thing. But I think that's the lowest hanging fruit, and then it becomes the question of horses for courses, really just picking out how can you supercharge this most effectively, and you eventually get to the point of like large organizations like the ones we're all part of. We're thinking about how you automate entire processes, or how you build a solution that scales to thousands or tens of thousands of different instances of application across a day, a week, or whatever. You're probably not going to be that way for many smaller businesses, but there will be things you can use it for. And then Megan's point's really important. Do you really need to build that, especially if you don't have a data capability? Is it just overkill? Or is it better to outsource it? Is it better to have an off-the-shelf tool? Don't know. It depends on the use case and the business context. But I think there's a lot you can do now that's just off the shelf, and you'll start understanding. And I think you'll start understanding what it's not going to do. It's not going to solve everything. It's not going to automate your life, and it's not going to dramatically just grow money on trees. Although I've seen some stories about, some people are saying they've got AI hedge fund bots and stuff. I don't know if I believe this. But yeah, so that's it. Yeah, just you need to get your hands on and play with it, I think. But there's lots of options for doing that now, which is good.
And you think it's fairly simple to get started. You don't need to have huge amounts of data available or anything like that. You don't need to have a background and understand, as you say, statistical models. If you're asking the right questions, you get enough needs or problems to solve, then they can at least
It's definitely easy to get started. I think what we would be careful not to promise is that it's easy to get it fully integrated and see the full value realised from it, maybe without a little bit more professional support. But the thing that really was revolutionary about something like ChatGPT being launched is the accessibility of it as a tool, not just the fact that it's in a web browser and you can you can use it without any particular hardware, but also the fact that you can use natural language in your prompts. You don't have to be a software engineer to use this. You can expect that pretty much anyone could give it a go and see how it works. obviously depends on the kind of problem you're trying to get it to solve, and if you want to really like bed it into the entire process that your business is based on, you probably need to make sure that you've got it operating really effectively and you've de-risked it by getting professional help in. But that's not to say you can't just get started. And I think, as Andy said, because the tools are so accessible and usually pretty cheap to get started trialing, you can get an idea of what's possible. So you can have a go, see whether it looks as if it's able to solve the problem with just a quick try. And if it's giving you the right signals, then you have a chat with Chris and, you know, ask the question, who would we want to get in the organisation to really scale this thing and make it for real?
Yeah. I have a hypothesis that sort of the consumer-facing one-to-one AI assistants like ChatGPT or Claude or like Anthropic's service, etc. I actually think that'd be a bigger value multiplier in a smaller business than a bigger one, where your roles are a bit more specialised. That's my kind of hypothesis. So I remember working in a startup, right, where it was kind of everyone had to pitch in a bit with everything. So it's like, you're the data scientist, but you're also going to help actually write a presentation and go give this pitch. And you're also speaking to this senior stakeholder later and going to write some stuff for the website and do this.
The way I used to describe that is if you're working as a data professional in a startup, you're the data department. Like, you represent like everyone.
Yeah, then you start doing other random stuff as well. Like, I remember writing bits for the website or whatever, you know, check the website. You know, you're doing doing user acceptance testing for the web people and stuff. You know, it's just you do all this random stuff. I feel like the flexibility of GenAI solutions can really help with that. You know, it's like if someone says, write me the content that goes on the website, GenAI can help generate you something really quickly, and then you tweak it and all that, you know, and that's not something where it's super important that it's really your heart and soul poured into it. It's not super important that it's absolutely line by line perfect. You know, it's just all these things, I think, or, you know, I've got this existing copy, can you reformat it or something? You know, things like that. They just, you know, lots of little tasks. I think that would be a big value multiplier where you are trying to wear multiple hats.
To flip
say you've had a data person that's left and you're like, oh, do you know what? Can you rewrite this code in Python or something? Like, that would be brilliant, but you don't really know yourself, you know, I don't know. So stuff like that, like rewriting and, you know, it's in C++ or whatever.
Yep.
Like, can you know, convert it to a language I do know?
Yep.
Trying to flip it around and think, like, what could you do maybe wrong as an organisation that's like a new adopter? Like, what might you get overexcited about and then it really backfire? So
I think people will think. Sorry, jump in, Megan.
Go.
I was going to say, I think people will think they don't need software developers or data scientists at all, and that could become dangerous, right? So I think and you were sort of picking at it earlier, Megan. You said it's super easy to get started. It's so easy. So if you sort of think, hey, I need to build some software solution for my business or for my customers, you may be tempted to think, you know what, I'm just going to get the people from some other part of the department who don't really know technology. I'll just give them AI and they can build it. I think that'd be quite dangerous. And you're going to actually sink a lot of money and time and energy trying to relearn a lot of stuff where, to your point, if you bring in a professional who's done it, it'll be super quick and super efficient and actually very cost effective.
Yeah,
you know, there's a fine line to walk between doing everything yourself and buying off the shelf solutions that you really need to think through. Everybody thinks they can do everything now.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true.
So you're basically saying that SaaS is still a thing because people will imagine they can just reinvent like all the products necessary to get their business off the ground, but actually you might as well go buy a shopping cart service because actually it's not worth the risk of trying to re-engineer it yourself, or
you do build it yourself. So it could be that SaaS is dead. To Satya Nadella's point, he said SaaS is going to die because of GenAI. It could be that SaaS is dead, but it's more, if you're going to build your own solution bespoke for your organization, you might still need skills in that area to do it.
Right, okay. So you're bringing the people in as well.
Yeah, it's not that everyone can be a developer or everyone can be a marketer, everyone can be a HR person or whatever. You know, I still think you need people with specific skills to do those tasks. It's just AI can sort of supercharge them.
So my
already a loss of like basic statistics understanding already. You know, AI should sit on top of machine learning, should sit on top of fundamental statistics. but there's already a loss between the jump from statistics to machine learning, the jump then from machine learning to AI. You've lost so much actual depth of understanding that if you were using it to do predictive modelling, how do you know that what you're producing, I mean, obviously you can say if it's right or wrong, but there's fundamental errors in there, even now. You know,
So
but
you
you're
need
just not
to-
going to know
yeah.
that the more you remove the actual experts of the depth of learning.
Yeah,
You're
so you
going to
mean if
end
you
up
just
with these
yeah.
fundamentals, yeah.
Yeah, so you just feed data into an AI solution and say forecast.
Probably right-ish.
Yeah, but you won't
But you
know
know,
when it's good, when it's
yeah,
bad.
no, you
Like
won't.
massage the yep.
Yeah, I like
I'd buy
that.
that.
The other example I was thinking of when I asked how can it go wrong, there was an article I was reading about, I think, a PR agency. And essentially the boss had been like, I love the AI stuff that I'm seeing. I want it to be a core part of our business. And they mandated that everyone, no matter their job function, use AI tooling as part of their day-to-day. So like if you're writing copy, you had to like run it past, I don't know, ChatGPT first and then refine it. And then like that was part of your workflow. It was a mandatory part of your business that you included it in every step. And what they found is that people ended up taking a lot longer to do tasks because they were like, essentially like something they were already good at. They were throwing it to AI to see if it could have a goal. Then they were fixing all the outputs. And in some cases, they could have just gone and done it themselves faster anyway. But I think that was an example of like over adoption, like being so enthusiastic that AI is a solution to literally everything end to end in your business that you try and like fire it at every problem before you know it, you've created like a massive productivity sink for like all of your people. So I think like not being over eager, which is a thing I think we talk about a lot in this podcast because we're so aware of the hype. But I think like everyone is expecting that AI is the way to get efficiency gains at every stage of their business, from ideation all the way through to like sales. And you've got to really like pin down your problem and be like, is AI actually going to accelerate this thing? Like, is it actually capable of doing this better than the humans that are experts that I've already brought in for the task?
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably something that we're trying to work out. Obviously, we're a startup, so we've been going just over a year now, and we use ChatGPT, build the website for some of our social and our marketing content, some of our sales emails, a lot in our written format, especially when we're doing like large scale tenders and stuff. But so we know that it's really supported us in those areas, but we're probably at the next stage now where we don't have the understanding ourselves to use an agent or feed it, got the data available. For instance, we've got our sales data in our CRM, we've got obviously LinkedIn that we use for a lot of our searching. But it's just trying to work out ways in which we should automate more tasks to be more efficient, but also there's tools, there's AI tools that you can use that I can probably message the majority of the Scottish data in the AI market on a regular basis and constantly, but I know to do that it might get I might have the access there available immediately, but it's going to really
I mean,
really harm my brand
yeah,
if it's used in the
first
wrong
of all,
way.
go in all day that.
Obviously.
Because
Very on brand,
yeah.
Scottish.
Because
Yep,
our
like it.
inboxes, I don't know about you, but like the number like active like messages now that I'm getting that are really obviously
Crazy.
generated by some AI bot, and like they are personalized and they're targeted in a way that like could have been quite engaging if it was a one-off and it happened a couple of years ago. But now they're like so ubiquitous, like you can just spot them an absolute mile off.
Oh, it's horrible. To your point about overuse, I've heard of and seen examples like people sending welcome emails that were generated by a sort of co-pilot, and it's
So soulless.
it's in
Yeah.
and it was so verbose, and it was so like very very enthusiastic about this person's accomplishments. They'd never met them. And all
It's
these,
really
and
sad.
then, I know, and then I've had had ones as well where it's like, can you do X task, and it's clear someone ran it through ChatGPT and it came back this very verbose piece of prose when I was like, no, I wanted a 3-point bullet list just as an agenda or something. This is a big story, and it's like, there's definitely points of overuse, and I think people. We've spoken about this in the podcast about. I do really worry about people de-skilling themselves. I worry about people just they become prompt monkeys.
You start to lose confidence of how you're actually able to communicate yourself. I can write an email. I've been writing emails for years, but now I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
But I think
ChatGPT could write it better.
but I think that's right, Ishbel, and it's sort of exactly, and you're getting people who are like, oh, it's like the example you said, Megan, because I can use this, I should.
Yeah.
You're like, are you really actually getting a benefit from that? I rarely use these AI solutions. People are like online and they're like, I use this every day for absolutely everything, and I'm supercharged and I'm 10x more productive. I don't know how true that is, right? We'll see how it pans out. I rarely use them. I use them for very specific things. I use them for coding. I use them for brainstorming. I use them for sort of big bits of text I want to summarize or analyze and pull out specific piece of information. That's about it. I don't overuse them because I'm like, to your point, Ishbel, I know how to communicate. I can write an email. I can write bullets.
I find it more often than not, you give up because I'm like, you just sound like an idiot. Like, nobody writes like that. Nobody talks like that, you know?
You are,
like,
you've regressed to the mean and it's horrible.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Even if I'm like, tone it down, I'm like, no, you're still not toning it down enough to be Scottish.
Tone it down. Calm down, ChatGPT.
Stop being so nice to everyone.
I know. But you know that, but because it's not what it's like optimized for. Like I've said before, I think if you're confident at what you're good at, you'll find the points where AI helps you in niche tasks, and that'll make you more productive.
Yeah,
Did you choose it for the sake of using it?
There's something core here, isn't there, about like as an organization, there's something that you have as your like core special offering. Like that's the reason that you exist as an organization. And if you expect AI is going to come in and do all of it for you, did you really have a foundation to build off of? Like you need to find that thing that you're doing that's unique, that can't be replicated over and over again by an AI which doesn't understand your problem space, and keep that special, like keep that soul live, and then just like automate and introduce AI in the bits that are a bit more peripheral or not as core.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think a kind of perfect way to sum it up. But yeah, it's interesting. I think you'll see many organisations, like smaller organisations or companies that are looking to adopt, probably use it in the right way, or use it in that kind of way. And I think that'll be a good way to get started.
Okay.
But yeah, great to have you on as always, guys. Thanks again for your time, and we'll catch up soon.
Cheers. Yeah.
Cheers.